guys. So we are so excited to have you guys here tonight. Jana is amazing. Just a few quick notes to know about her before we kind of dive in and have her talk about her business. The first thing is that Jana actually worked in marketing and sales for a while. She worked in Silicon Valley and then worked for a well-known company called KSL. Many of you might be familiar with. The second thing is that she started her company with a website called babysteals.com. And today she has 4 different platforms and now runs a multi-million-dollar website, which is known as the Steals family. And then the third thing, and this is kind of two-part, is that she is super awarded. So she was nominated as the Ernst & Young Entrepreneurship of the Year. She was a finalist for that for 2 years. And I think the most important thing that I found out about Jana just through hanging out with her in the last few hours and just learning about her, she's really authentic. I mean, you'll hear a lot of people throw that word out, but she's super down to earth. She understands her business, and she's very relatable. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Jana.
Wow, that was very lovely. Thank you. I am so honored to be here. I can't even believe. So I was thinking like 40 people. So I walked in, and maybe some of you saw me. Well, oh my word. Okay, this is rad. That word kind of dates me, doesn't it? Okay, so my name is Jana Francis, and I'm the founder and president of a really awesome website called Steals.com. I know you probably all have mobile phones. Oh, you know what? I just thought of the funniest thing. Okay, I'm a total rebel prankster saboteur to my staff and family, and we've got, I just had this cool idea. I have a guy in our marketing department that is obsessed with our real-time Google Analytics. He has it up on his computer all the time, and I do too, but I bet you he does right now, and it's after business hours, right? And then he'll text me, there's something going on in Halifax, Virginia, because all of a sudden we got a spike in traffic. And all this stuff. So what would it look like if everybody just went to Steals.com really quick? I kind of want to test him to see if he texts me. I have my Apple Watch, so I would know. Anyway, let's just check that out. Anyway, just go visit Steals.com, and then you'll get a quick visual of what I do. So, and then I'll test him to see if he's working after hours. I think this would be an absolute hoot. So, anyway, we'll see. All right, so I started this business almost 10 years ago. And it was really, it started with out of a need for myself, and it was really just based on something that I was looking for me. So at the time that I had the concept of my company, I had never been an entrepreneur before. I never even really considered myself an entrepreneur, and I didn't go to a wonderful institution like this to learn about it or anything of the sort. But I'd always had a great career and worked really, really hard. But as I look back at my life and the things that I've always done, I really always had a very thick theme of entrepreneurship. I was an eBay power seller before they even had a name for them, simply because she mentioned I lived in Silicon Valley, and I would drive to work every day, and I'd see this building going up. And I'll never forget, one day there was an E, the next day there was a B, and then there was an A and a Y, and I thought, what's that? eBay. So I go and I check it out, and I'm like, no way, I can sell all the crap in my house and get money for it? That's rad. So I started buying things from garage sales that I knew had a higher value than what it was that they were selling it for, that I knew I could get a higher price selling it globally instead of just to the person down the street. And I've always been into brands, the really high quality companies that build a great product and the value of it. But I always was looking for a great deal on it. So when I would go to somewhere like a garage sale or the thrift store, I would quickly go, oh, I know that Louis Vuitton bag could totally go for more than that. So I'd sell it on eBay, and that's how I partially, other than, I had a great job in Silicon Valley, but that's partially how I helped pay for our mortgage and got my husband through chiropractic school without student loans. So anyway, looking back, that was a really entrepreneur-y thing to do. It wasn't necessarily an official business, but I would just go to garage sales and thrift stores and buy up what I knew I could sell for more and sell it. And then I started to figure out things about eBay's algorithm, like people spelled stuff wrong all the time. So then I started curating a lot of my own product on eBay, buying from people that spelled things wrong and reselling it the correct way. They've since corrected their algorithm and fixed all of that, but that was kind of a fun thing to hack as well. But what I look back on is I never thought to myself that I would actually create my own e-commerce site. It never even dawned on me to do that in those days. But when I look back, I realize what that experience taught me, because everything that you guys do in life is going to add to your experience for the future of your business and entrepreneurism. Everything that you do, you will learn something that you will take with you that will benefit you in the future. And so I realized that helped me understand how to create a great title, right, to get seen and eventually clicked into the listing. It also taught me how to create a great description. It also taught me how to know what is it that people look for when they're buying online to buy this thing, right? And since it was something different every day, which is so ironic because that's my whole company right now, something different every day, you'd have to really get to know all the different things. Okay, well, when it's a purse, you need the measurements, you need this, you need that. You need a picture that does this. I remember I had one of the very first digital cameras even. So all of those things that I learned, and then customer service and how to actually ship it out and to make sure it wouldn't break and all those kinds of things. And it really taught me a lot about how to sell online and how to get somebody to stop what they're doing, pull out their credit card, and give you their money. So based on the need that I had, so I was the director of sales for KSL.com on the KSL News Radio side. And I had been at KSL at the time, I was at KSL for almost 8 years, I believe. And this is before, before KSL.com was, it's amazing, obviously. It's very, very cool. But I was charged with how to drive revenue on KSL.com. And at the time, I was pregnant with my third... Here it is. He did it. Our site traffic just quadrupled. There's a giant orange dot in Utah. What's up? Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I didn't tell my staff I was going to be here. Okay, well, kudos to him. If this is recorded, he's totally going to laugh at me. Okay, so check. That was my joke of the day. I knew it. He doesn't need to have real-time analytics up at home at night, but he does. That's just hilarious. Okay. All right, that worked. Thanks, guys, for participating in that. That's hilarious. Oh, he's kind of freaking out right now. Oh, this is so funny. All right, that was fun. Okay, so so I was shopping online since I had a demanding career. So to give you the landscape of where I was at in my family, I had 2 boys. One was 12 and one was 6. And I was pregnant with my third child, and it was a girl. And so now I've kind of waded myself through my husband's school, and I have this great career. So I wanted to spoil my darling first little girl. And I didn't have time to go to the brick and mortar stores because of obvious reasons, work and family. But just shopping online. Now, granted, this was 2005 and 6, and even a little bit before that. E-commerce was very, very infantile, no pun intended. And women were really underserved online for the most part. When I was looking for myself to buy things online, I remember looking for a diaper bag. And I remember this moment because it took me back to knowing, well, geez, when I sold diaper bags or anything that I would find, I would put way more information on this. And this is a retailer wanting me to give them their money, and I don't even know how big this bag is. I don't know if it has bottle pockets or whatever, insulated bottle pockets and that kind of stuff. So I wanted more detail. But the biggest thing I wanted was somebody to curate for me what the latest and greatest products were. Because it had been 6 years since I'd had a baby, and I wasn't even sure, should I put her on her back or on her side? Things change all the time with babies, right? So I'm just looking online. I wanted to connect with other women like me, and I wanted to have the hip and trendy cool stuff. But it was so different that I was like, I just wish somebody would do it for me. This is before Groupon. This is before Zulily. This is before daily deal sites were a thing. When I realized that it didn't exist, I thought, I wonder what would happen if I created it. And babysteals.com was born, and it was the first daily deal site for women. Fast forward to now, it's been almost 10 years. Our 10-year anniversary is April 28th of 2008. That'll be our 10-year anniversary this year. But I've also launched, you'll see, when you go to steels.com, which I obviously did not own when I started the company, but I also have kid steels and scrapbook steels, which I'm turning into craft steels, and then shesteels.com as well. All sites that I launched after I had a proof of concept that baby steels was going to work, and that listening to our customers, they wanted more. They wanted craft deals, and they wanted jewelry and footwear for them, and they also wanted stuff for kids too, for their older kids. So the other thing that was kind of going on in my career at the time, which also added to the reason why I built the business, was I really wanted to be able, at some point in my life, because at this point I had been in the career world for a long time. I'm old. I have a 23-year-old boy now, if you can believe that. And the little girl that I had will be 12 in May. So I was also really passionate about marketing and advertising. I had been at KSL taking advertisers' money throughout Utah for a long time, and I really knew how traditional media worked. I knew how to make a radio ad campaign work. I knew how to make that work. So traditional broadcast, but digital marketing was so new, and it was so fascinating to me, and I wondered. So there's a thing called concentration in traditional media, where if instead of like taking a $10,000 ad campaign and putting it all that money divided out on all the radio stations, you really want to pick the right radio station, and you want to put all the money there so that the right demographic is reached enough times in order to take action on your message. It's a concept that's taught in radio and television all the time. However, I wondered, would this work with digital? And I was able to, because I had the flexibility to test things out on KSL.com, I was able to test that out and found out it's absolutely true that instead of taking an ad campaign and doing a run-of-site ad campaign wherever the pages go, let's actually concentrate and spend all the money either all at once, or not all at once, but in a short period of time or on a very small amount of pages. Long story, but I realized, okay, now if this works in digital, this is fascinating to me because I'm also passionate about niche marketing, and KSL is niche in geography, people in the state of Utah. But people online are also interested in what they're interested in. If they have a child with special needs, if any hobby that you have, you're able to make friends with people all around the world. So I thought to myself, at this same time that I was looking for a place to buy, for someone else to curate, a busy mom like me, an amazing product, but give it to me at a great price, I realized, oh my word, if I can create a global community, or even just starting in the US, around babies, then I can do it for crafting, and I can do it for kids stuff, and I can do it for lots of other things. And I've yet to launch any other sites, but I have well over 300 domains that end in steels. Maybe one day I'll launch. I'm hoping to launch a home category, so home steels, and a few others this year, hopefully pet steels. But I have a lot of them because I'm really fascinated on how you can make a friend in Florida if you live in Saskatchewan, Canada, for life just based on your interest. And that's what the internet did. It brought us all together in a very unique way. So those were the main things that were happening in the business. And I thought, okay, so this digital marketing concentration, if I take a really cool brand and I highlight them to my community of people all around the world, that'd be probably the best marketing ever. And that is how I got really amazing companies to give me their amazing product at a ridiculous price so then I could resell it to people. And it would give them a really great marketing opportunity without spending any money, and reaching people all around the world. And so, the first year, I didn't pay myself a dime. I have a co-founder, or a CEO who's also co-founder. 3 weeks before I launched the business, I brought him into the business, and he's still the CEO to this day. He's amazing. And Neither of us paid ourselves for the first year. I continued to work at KSL for 5 months, and everybody at KSL knew, oh my gosh, Jana, how's your site going? And so that was really fun, and they had a lot of excitement for me as it grew. But I'll never forget this moment, and I mentioned this earlier at the dinner, that it was September of that year. It had been 5 months, it was August, and it was 4:35 a.m., and I was still at the computer working. And I remembered, oh my gosh, it's 4:30. I have to get up at 6 because I got to get the kids ready, and I need to get them off to school so that I can go to be at KSL at 8 a.m. And that's when I knew, now I can't keep doing this, right? But the reality was, I started the business without any funding whatsoever. It was $5,000 of my own money, just in savings. And I was the breadwinner for the family because my husband was getting his chiropractic business started. So I needed that income, but it got to the point where I simply could not do both, and I also didn't have the money to hire anybody else to do it. And actually hiring an employee sounded so like, no way. So anyway, on our 1-year anniversary, we hired our first employee, and it was a shipper. And just a little bit of advice that really helped me as the company grew. I mean, at one point, I had over 75 employees. I've hired hundreds of people over the years, but at one point, our largest, I think it was 75 or 78 with some part-time on top of that. But I always started with, what was the easiest thing to train someone else to do, right? Because at the end of it, as you grow, what you want to do is pull yourself out and literally do what no one else can, and allow other people to do what anyone else can. So that's how we grew the business and knew when to hire employees. It was like, okay, the first thing I need to do, anyone can put something in a package, right? I knew how to do that, but let's train somebody else to do it. And as soon as I stepped back and started to hand pieces of what I did to other people, that's when we just absolutely went crazy. The two main things that helped us grow was when I left my job, we quadrupled the next month. And the reason was I was focused. I was able to focus all day long on just my business, and it was very freeing, and it was scary as heck, but it was amazing. And sometimes I wonder, should I have believed in myself sooner? But I have the reality. I'm really risky as far as I do a lot riskier things than most people as it relates to business and entrepreneurship. But I also have a level of responsibility that, it's just the reality. So, and especially when you have a family. So start your businesses before you have kids. If you don't have kids yet, do it now. Believe in yourself, because at the end of the day, this is another bit of advice to always remember. You can always go get another job, right? It's not difficult to get a job. But if you have that idea, you have that thought, and it's just sitting there, and you're thinking, do I have the nerve to do this? My test for myself is this. I've had a lot of ideas over the years, a lot. But this particular one I couldn't stop thinking about. Once I started to realize, oh my gosh, there isn't a site like this. There isn't a Daily Deal website, because there wasn't for babies or women at all. And I thought, and it just kept at me and kept at me and kept at me. But it was that thing of, I've never started a business. I have no idea how to create an e-commerce company, right? And also, how in the world would I fit that in with a full-time job and 3 kids? So what I'm telling y'all, if I can do it, you all can do it. But the thing was, I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And it took me 18 months from the time that I had the idea and told the first friend about, hey, I kind of really want to start this company. Does it sound interesting to you? It was 18 months. And from then to the time that I launched. And also, obviously, because of my, personal situation, but I made sure every single day that I did one thing to get a little bit further. That's how I did it. So it's like, how in the world did you start a business like that? I did one thing every single day. I would not go to bed. I would not go to bed until I knew that I had taken at least a small step forward. And on weekends, I would take bigger steps, right? I would spend hours, not just, whatever it was. It didn't matter. I had to do something to get a step forward every single day, and I did. A lot of discipline. And I look back and I'm realizing I won't go to bed until I complete at least one Spanish and one French lesson on Duolingo app. So I'm still doing it in a weird way. I just like to challenge myself, and that was the way I did it then. I wish there was an app for that. So anyway, that's how I just broke it down into bite-sized pieces, and finally it happened. Now, of course, about 2 months before launch is when it really was, it wasn't just 15 minutes before bed. It was like all night getting ready and, all those kinds of things and planning and just the whole bit. But yeah, that's kind of how I bit off a project so large. I want to mention that I was going to read it today, but I think it might be more powerful because we talked about it a little bit earlier in the class. But if you go to just my LinkedIn page, you will find a blog post that I did, and it's called Confessions of an Entrepreneur. And it's really a summation of just one-liners of a lot of the things I've learned in the years of being an entrepreneur and being an actual employer. And there's a lot of talk lately about entrepreneurs, and are you an entrepreneur? And the biggest thing the way I differentiate it is an entrepreneur is someone who builds something bigger than themselves that exists whether they're there or not. I've got a friend that's the graphic designer, and she calls herself an entrepreneur, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I haven't told her that. If you watch this, I'm so sorry. But she's a freelancer, and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but I just think it's important to know the difference. If you're a freelancer, you do work for someone else on your own time. But when that job is over, there's nothing more. When you're an entrepreneur, you are building something that is existing whether you're there or not. So that's kind of how I differentiate it. And the other thing I will say is you can still have an entrepreneur, depending on your career, right? If you work for someone else, that's what I consider called a contributor. So it's like contributor, freelancer, entrepreneur is the kind of the things. And I know there's a few things now that a lot of people are throwing out, like solopreneur and things like that. Fine. But I think as a contributor, you can still create amazing things without the risk when someone else is paying you to do it. I have so many employees through the years who I think will be and could be amazing entrepreneurs someday, but what I gave them was the opportunity to be an entrepreneur in a way inside my business. I was paying their paycheck, but they were allowed to then turn and, push out their own creativity into their own role. So let me see if my timer's going off. No, okay, we're good. So after the first year, we hire our first employee, and then things just once I stepped back from doing things that anyone else can, I realized, okay, that's really when things started to grow because I could focus more on doing what no one else could do. And same with my business partner. And then the warehouse needed more people, and then I needed people in customer service. And so it was just really interesting how, as things grow, how you take a little piece of your baby, if you will, no pun intended, but it really feels like your baby, and you have to okay, this is now your job. And it's really intimidating to say, okay, here's my really cute baby, put a bow on it and don't drop it, But a lot of times they can take it even higher and better than you because they're focused on it all day. And so it was really powerful. It was really rewarding to see what some of the employees we hired over the years were able to do with the roles that they were given, as well as what they grew into in their own role. In their role, almost every person in my customer service department over the years was promoted to a completely different job in a position that they never ever had any idea that they would do, that they weren't even trained for. But it was because I was looking for the passion and the interest in certain areas, and it's easy in customer service to really get an understanding of all elements of the business. And so that's how I grew my staff. I didn't necessarily go out and hire, other than myself and my CEO, who's my business partner, Rhett Clevenger. other than him, we didn't hire other executives to join our team. It was him and I, and we were bringing on people that, had great skills and great passion for what we did. Most often, to be honest with you, we hired our customers. I would post on Facebook, on our Facebook page. I think one of our pages, Baby Steals, has around 315,000 fans, and each one of my websites has their own page. But I would post on our Facebook pages when we had job openings and say, hey, Utah, if you shop at steals.com, you're going to want to check out our job opening. Because those people had the passion for the business. So I want to talk a little bit about, I was asked this at dinner, and I wanted to bring it up, on how, what is the biggest, most important consideration when you're starting a business? And there's a lot of them. But for me, so in what I do, obviously, over having a daily deal every single day on 4 different websites, we've worked with a ton of brands, product inventors and makers. And they're all amazing, because we wouldn't have featured the product if we didn't think the product was amazing. And I notice over time, that company goes out of business. That company goes out of business. Years and years later, it's like, oh, whatever happened to those guys? They're out of business? And so I'd inquire, like, wait a minute, your product was amazing. Why? What happened? Almost every single time, a product company that had a great product that went out of business, it was because the business partners did not get along. Something went wrong with the partners, and one of them sued the other, or one of them had to buy the other one out and went bankrupt. Whatever it is, there was a conflict with the business partners. So, and it is so sad, because there's some amazing products out there that should be in existence and for sale today, but they're not, because the inventors and the makers just couldn't find a way to get along. And so that being said, my biggest advice would be to pick, if you choose to have a partner, and there are pros and cons for that, and I could talk about that for an hour too. If you choose to have a partner, pick them very, very, very wisely, and here's how. Never give equity in your business to anyone that you could simply hire or fire. If they have skills that are hireable and fireable, just give them a job. But don't give them equity in your business and make them a partner. I see that happen all the time, where it's like, oh, I want to create this website or this blog or whatever, but I don't have the way to design it, and so I'm going to give this person this percentage to do it because I don't have the money to pay him. No, hire and fire. Now, if there's somebody who has an inherent level of interest in what you do, a crazy amount of passion, and they can bring something to the table that not only you can't, but no one else can, that's when you go, okay, this is somebody who could possibly be a partner at some level. I got very lucky at that, by the way. My business partner, like I mentioned, I was 3 weeks away from launch when I brought him in. I didn't anticipate having a business partner, and I didn't really go out to do it. I just was picking his brain on lunch one day, and we walked out business partners. And we didn't know each other very well at all. He was actually at backcountry.com while I was at KSL. We were working on a promotion together, the two companies. And I just thought he was the smartest guy I had ever met in my 8 years of sitting across the table from really, really smart advertisers in Utah. I had sat across from everyone and presented them KSL and advertising, and I knew he was the smartest one I had ever sat across from. So I picked his brain about my idea. I took him aside. Hey, is there any way I could talk to you about my idea? And that was it. So I got lucky there. If I go back, I'm glad I was naive. But I got lucky because I just see it go wrong all the time. So that's my advice as far as picking a business partner. And I just realized I'm talking and I'm not even getting to my slides. So let's see what I have here. All right. So there's my Twitter, Jana_Steals. Would love to connect with you guys all there. Instagram, Snapcode. I'll put that back up at the end. So maybe I should have told you a little bit more about what company makes me an entrepreneur. So obviously steals.com. Now you'll have it on your phones. Daily deals on brands you love. Baby Steals is what I started with, obviously. And you can click into each different one, and there's a daily deal, but also you can search our site now we have about 400,000 other products that you can find through the search results and by going through the categories. But we highlight one on each niche site as a daily deal every day. And that's basically the homepage of each individual site. If you just click through, these are different daily deals than today. So this was my mission statement from day one when there are thousands of deals online every day, but it takes more than a good price to get a deal. You need a high-quality product, fast shipping, an amazing service, and then you get a deal. So that's been a lot of our mission statement with the team for this whole time. So I talked a little bit about this already. Are you an entrepreneur? If you're a contributor, you work for someone else on their own time. If you're a freelancer, you get paid for working on your own time for someone else on a specific task. And if you're an entrepreneur, you build a business bigger than yourself, and you get paid, or you lose money when you're not even there. You literally do get paid when you sleep, or lose money when you sleep. But it's a living, breathing entity that doesn't rely on you to be there every day. But the real determination is, who is it that's deciding what it is you're doing today? And that's the true freedom of an entrepreneur. You're making the choice on what to do. And I said it earlier, and this is a common quote that somebody else came up with, it's used a lot. But the nice thing about being an entrepreneur is you can actually pick the 90 hours of work every week when you do those 90 hours. And I can tell you, it is true and it doesn't change. 10 years later, I actually didn't even sleep last night. I worked until 2 and then I couldn't go to bed and had to get up at 6. I literally didn't fall asleep. That's why I look awful. Okay, so here are some straight characteristics about entrepreneurs. They understand people. They're really, 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 in most cases, good with people. A good emotional intelligence. They're comfortable making every decision. They're comfortable passing those decisions on to others, meaning knowing how to delegate. That is the hardest thing for me. I'm really passionate about what I do, and I like doing the work. And I have to remind myself a lot, you will make more money if you teach someone else to do this, lady. Work ridiculously hard, confident, comfortable with risk, resourceful, competitive, creative, and curious, and a leader. You have to learn or know how to lead people if you're an entrepreneur. So this is the blog post I mentioned that you can find on my LinkedIn if you want to look up just the main things that I've learned. But now we are about to Q&A, and I would love to be as much value as possible to you guys to really know what it is that you are personally interested in from my story and how it can give the most value to you guys. So how shall we do this? Oh, let's see. We're going to... Cool. Let me see if...
So if you have a question, just come down here on the left-hand side. We're going to do it that way today, and then we'll just take it down here. So just go ahead and walk around.
He's still texting me. There's quite a bit of traffic in southern Utah as well. Oh, this is going to be great tomorrow.
So I do have a question. So you mentioned at the very beginning that when you were creating your business, there wasn't anyone else that really did what you do.
Yeah.
Throughout the years, it seems like e-commerce and stuff like that has really grown. Have you ran into competition? And if so, how have you dealt with that competition?
Very good question. Yes. Tremendous amounts of competition. And in fact, when I look back at when I mentioned that one of the things I really wish I did was believe more in myself, it's because, and maybe not moonlight so long at KSL, was because what I didn't know was that all of these other companies were going to start looking and go, oh, did you see what that girl in Utah did, that niche daily deal site? I wonder if maybe we could go do that. And I knew that people would try to buy steals.com domains. As a matter of fact, the night before I launched, I spent a fortune on GoDaddy, of course with a coupon code, because that's my jam. And I bought a ton of domains that end in steals, and even misspellings. And so I knew that was going to happen from being in digital marketing. But what I didn't realize is that companies, tons and tons and tons and tons of them, would come in and be overnight successes because they would get an incredible amount of venture capital money, and they would rocket past me in growth. Because here's this bootstrapped girl from Utah that doesn't have an investor. To be honest with you, and I said this earlier, and I'm not embarrassed to say it, I didn't even know what VC stood for when I started the business, because that's not what I started it for. I didn't start it to say, I'm going to go pitch this idea to, Sand Hill Road in Silicon Valley and see if I can get somebody to give me $10 million and exit in 3 years. That wasn't the goal. And so that being said, that I feel like if I would have focused a little bit sooner, that I could have maybe grown faster and been more competitive with some of these. Now, I will tell you, very few of the people that came at me and just rocket past me because they were spending, there was one competitor that was spending, because I ended up seeing their books later when they tried to get me to buy them, like 4 years later. They were spending $800,000 a month just on advertising. And that's impossible to compete with. I don't think I've ever spent I've never spent $800,000 on marketing in total through my whole business. Never. I do very, very, very little paid advertisement. It's kind of embarrassing, but really very little. Daily deal sites really can't survive if you do. The margin isn't there. And it's very, very difficult to have paid advertising, especially in e-commerce payoff. So as far as the... obviously, I launched before Groupon. Groupon totally didn't copy me or anything of that nature. I doubt they even heard of me. But it was just interesting that, there are some that totally did. Many would even give talks like this and say, oh, I got my idea because of this website, and I decided to spin off a different version of it. And Utah's the worst for that, by the way. The worst. We're kind of famous for that. I wish we were famous for other things, but we are kind of famous for copying other people's business ideas, in a way. So it's kind of frustrating. But there was a lot of Utah companies that copied. Most of them are out of business, not all. But it's not that that's bad either. If you see a business model that you think is interesting, creating your own spin, it's different. But as far as the competition now, at the end of the day, there's really only one competition, and it's Amazon. And it is incredibly difficult to compete against Amazon. They make it almost impossible for many, many reasons. I've seen Amazon single-handedly put many, many e-commerce companies out of business, and also brick and mortar as well. They've disrupted literally I can't think of an industry that Amazon either hasn't already disrupted or that they're going to disrupt in the future. But as far as our differentiation from Amazon, we've always been so different just because we were a daily deal site, and they don't necessarily have just they don't have the curation. 93% of the transactions on Amazon start with a search for a very specific item. So you already knew that you wanted that vacuum bag or that specific thing that you needed, but how many people go to Amazon to just surf around and try to find something they think is cute? Nobody, right? You already know what it is you want. So that alone tells me that discovery alone, you also need to discover it somewhere. Sometimes you discover it by doing brick and mortar shopping. Sometimes you discover it by going to other websites or blogs or whatever it is. But that's what Steals.com is really about at the end of the day. That's our main differentiator, is the discovery. As well as, obviously, we're just a lot more human. Our customers know our staff. They know what we're all about. They know that we're kind of the e-commerce mom and pop type thing, and we've always just wanted to matter to people and really connect with our customers. So, from even just doing customer service myself, because I always jump in and just, there's nothing more important than talking to your customers, period. And in doing that, some of my very best friends were people that in Canada, one of my best friends is in Vancouver, Canada, and she heard about me, or she heard about Steals.com from, she's an intensive care nurse, and she found out about me through a friend at the hospital, and then ended up emailing in for some problem, and now she's one of my best friends. It's crazy how you can, connect with people, but that's really a big differentiator as well, is that we're really, we have kind of the human touch to e-commerce. But another big one is this. A tremendous amount of product on Amazon is counterfeit. A tremendous amount. Number one most knocked off product on Amazon, Gillette razors. Right? Gillette razors. Literally, Google it. I'm serious. Look it up. Knocked off products on Amazon. 90% of the Apple products are fake. Birkenstock doesn't even sell on Amazon. They pulled off because of all of the fakes. So there's over 8,200 Birkenstocks for sale right now on Amazon, okay? It's a huge, huge problem. As a matter of fact, it's the #1 problem in retail. And that has hurt my business like I cannot even tell you because of our brand focus, okay? So when someone comes to my website and goes, ooh, I really like that diaper bag or whatever it is, I love those shoes. I'm going to go check it. I'm going to go check the price on Amazon, right? That's just natural human behavior. It's what you do, making sure I'm getting a steal. But what they don't know, the one on Amazon is $5 cheaper. And not always. I mean, we usually do the work in advance and make sure that they can't beat us. But, okay, well, it's cheaper on Amazon. What they don't know is it's not the real one. It's fake. And it's a huge problem. And 2 reasons why. One, Amazon now allows, as of 2.5, 3 years ago, Amazon opened up Chinese factories to be able to sell direct to United States customers from China, sending through a shipping delivery service called ePacket. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it and probably even bought things from Amazon that came from Singapore. And you're like, what in the world? That's because they allow that. And they don't have to follow our rules there. They don't have to follow copyright or trademark laws. They can knock off any darn thing they want and put it on Amazon. The other thing Amazon did was they aggregated all of the product listings by product. So when you say a Bell Birkenstock size 8, you're looking at every single Bell Birkenstock size 8 that everyone's selling on one page. You can scroll and look through all the sellers, right? There's a lot of different people selling that, and a lot of them are Chinese factories that aren't authorized to, and they're not real, and you'd never, ever know until you get them, and you're like, God, I've been wearing Birkenstocks for 20 years, and they're just going downhill. They're nothing like they used to be, and it's because of that reason. It's probably one that's not real. It's unfortunate. So it's competing against a false world right now, in a way. So it's hard. It's really hard because we do focus so much on brands, and it's made us have to pivot. So here's how we pivoted. I think that was the question. Sorry, it's a really long answer to the question. Is that in the past, the only thing you could buy from Steals.com was the daily deal. So if you, as a customer, were looking for a baby jacket and you came to Baby Steals that day and it was shoes, well, you were out of luck. There was nothing else to buy. 2 years ago, I made the biggest decision of my life to pivot the business entirely to a marketplace. And what that means is this. We used to work with a brand, buy the product from them in advance. We'd have it shipped to us in mass quantities, containers, pallets, you name it. We had huge Conway trucks coming every single day to our warehouse, delivering huge amounts of product. We had a receiving department that would unpack everything and count everything and verify it. And then it would go through our photography department and our videography department, and then it would go for sale. So we verified it all in advance. That's how we used to work. And what Amazon has made that impossible, because by the time you as a retailer make a purchase of a product, it's already on Amazon at the same time, and they've already dumped the price as fast as possible because knockoff brands and knockoff factories have already created knockoffs that are driving the price down. And so made it impossible to compete. And so we had to pivot to a marketplace. So now what's amazing is, and it was the hardest thing I ever did because it cost a fortune, and a lot of the revenue that we made in the past was put into this pivot to take the business to the next phase of e-commerce, if you will. And what that looks like is now a seller, somebody who has an amazing product. Sometimes it's a brand. Sometimes it's someone who, has a retail store, a really cute boutique in Texas or whatever. They apply to create an account and open their own store, if you will, on Steals.com. To the customer, it doesn't look like that at all. It just looks like a daily deal website that you can type through and look for anything through our search results and categories. But it's now shipped to you directly from the seller. It cuts out a ton of time. It's a lot cheaper because it takes out that link in the chain. Sometimes it was, we were spending sometimes up to $10,000 a day just on incoming freight to have it shipped to us. It was just very, very expensive. So now that part's out, it's even a better steal, if you will, for the customer. But it also allows us to sell a ton more. And it allows a lot of other companies the ability to work with us. Because in the past, I would only buy your product if it was selected as the daily deal. But now we actually curate the daily deal from what's selling well inside our marketplace. So it gives us a lot more data on, oh wow, and it's actually pretty fun. There's hundreds of thousands of products now, so some of the stuff I don't even know, and I see the sales report, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the cutest thing ever. And then I realize, whoa, tons of people are buying these, and I have no idea why, but let's talk to the seller and see if they want to give it a discount so that it can be the daily deal type thing. So that's kind of how we work now, and that's what we did to combat Amazon. It's still touch and go, to be honest with you, as far as we just need a lot more word of mouth, and it's difficult to do. When, at first it wasn't, because it was so new, and there was nothing like Steals.com when I started. So, anyway, wish me luck. Tell your friends. Thank you for that question.
So I kind of have two questions. I run an eBay dropshipping business, and I make about a sale a day. Okay. I just want to know a little bit more about your growth. Huh? I'm assuming you probably did some drop shipping kind of on the path where you sourced some products. You said about 2 years ago you opened up a warehouse. I just want to kind of know a little bit more about that process from where you started, where you were buying some products and selling them, to the point where you have a big warehouse where you're shipping product into. Oh, okay. So the question is kind of go through the phase of when we got a warehouse and how we ship those products. Well, just for an example, like drop shipping. Yeah. Did you ever participate in like drop shipping stuff? No. So what we always did was what I just mentioned. From day one, I would go out, I'd call, calling company after company after company, going to a lot of industry trade shows and finding the cool products, and then saying, okay, maker of this amazing purse, this is what I have. I have this amazing website, tens of thousands of people come to it every single day at 9 a.m. and you get a ton of promotion and you find customers all around the world if you're featured on my website. So what you need to do is discount your product to me in so much that I can then turn around and work on an amazing price to the customer. And so we would buy it in advance and have it shipped to us. At first, it came to my house. Or my business partner's house, and it got to where, at first it was just how much I dared to buy because I didn't really have a gauge of how many people would buy, and then it got to the point where the UPS guy and me had a thing, as far as he was every single day coming to my house going, I cannot keep delivering this much to your house, because it got to where 1 or 2 boxes a day. The next week it was 4 boxes, and the week after, and then there was one day where a whole entire UPS residential truck was coming to my house. And I actually got a call from his manager saying, you can't do this anymore. You have to ship to a commercial location, which was convenient because my husband had just opened his chiropractic office. And that's where we shipped it. It's commercial. So anyway, we started shipping things to my husband's chiropractic office, and then that's when we decided, okay, this is out of control. Now we needed to earn the money to get a warehouse and hire our first employee, and so that's what we did. A year later, so a year after launching, to the day, our first shipper started in a warehouse, just a small little building not too far from my house in Murray, Utah, and we quickly outgrew that, and then we got the other side of the building, and we quickly outgrew that. And then in 2010, the beginning of 2010, we got a big warehouse on the corner of California Avenue and 215 in Salt Lake City, and that's where we operated our warehouse. So we've been shipping direct to the customer from day one. We never did any drop shipping, if you will, meaning we just work directly with the brand, buy the product, and then ship it to the customer. What we do now, as of when we launched the marketplace, as of it's been about a year. Now, a company creates an account on my website, and you have to actually physically have the product. I mean, not like in your house, but you have to own the product, and it has to be in a warehouse. And you create your account, you become approved to be a seller, and then you get your listings up. Our team goes through and approves those listings, make sure it fits our merchandising standards, etc. And then when you get an order from a customer, the notification goes to you to ship it out, if that makes sense. So it's not like you're not ordering from China and never having seen the product. Some people have
different ways of describing drop shipping. So we don't really drop ship, but our sellers ship direct to our customers. No different than Amazon, by the way.
And then my other question. I noticed you have an affiliate program.
Yes.
On your website. How much of your sales are generated from affiliates? Do you know how many sales are generated from people that maybe drop ship from your company directly to their customers also?
I don't think, well, so our affiliate program, affiliate programs are a great way to drive traffic to an e-commerce site. It's about 7% of our overall revenue. The biggest thing for us is email. Email is numero uno as far as the best marketing that we have. It's a lot more valuable than social media, and anything else that we do is that email list is invaluable, and that's what's driven the most revenue for us. Yes. Do we have more questions?
You have time for one more? Anyone else? Nope? Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. It's really fun.